If you've been following Microsoft or Blizzard or basically gaming news as a whole, you will know that there is the biggest deal in gaming ever for like 70 billion. I think it was 69 billion and people kept laughing at it. So a lot of news sites reported it as 70 billion. But a 70 billion deal where Microsoft was trying to buy Activision Blizzard King. If you know anything about gaming, you will know that Blizzard once had a legendary reputation and now it has a very bad reputation. So a lot of people, including me, were hoping that Microsoft's going to step in. You know, Microsoft recently has been farming W's. Starfield, I don't care about Starfield. Starfield is just like is a Bethesda thing. Technically, it's owned by the thingy, you know, but who cares? I don't really care. I'm talking about Microsoft as a whole. The president of Microsoft, right? Like, one of the takes he had was so good. He was like, I don't like exclusivity. All of our games will be available on PC. They'll be available on Xbox. It's going to be great. You know? That's the takes I want. Because I hate consoles. I really, really don't like consoles. And what I think this means is that a lot of Blizzard games will start to pop up. We've already seen with Diablo. We've already seen with Overwatch. Both are coming to Steam. And both, I believe... Actually, no, I don't think Overwatch is. But Diablo is, for example, Steam Deck verified. A lot of them will probably start popping up on Game Pass as well. Which there's another tweet right here about Game Pass. We'll see what happens. Because right now, it's like we'll share more information what you can expect to play in the coming months. But everyone's sort of expecting these things to start appearing on Game Pass as well. Which for you, basically, if you don't know what Game Pass is, which surprisingly a lot of people don't, it is unironically Netflix for video games. It is incredible value for money. It's insane. If you play on a computer or on Xbox, I don't understand how people don't talk about it more. Because like for $15 per month, you can play like a couple of AAAs every month, basically, as they come out. A lot of them come straight to Game Pass, which is insane to me. If you haven't tried this, try it. This is not a sponsorship. I don't make any money off of this. It's just a really, really good service. So yes. So Xbox posted this little thing. I want to watch it. And hopefully, this will mean good things. So they posted this little clip. Surfing. So I think this is just like a fluff post of all their IPs, basically. I need to play Sea of Thieves. Yes. Man, this is such a good time. Actually, it kind of wasn't. Sourfang was cool, though.
We need an army. I can get us an army.
Funniest thing is that King makes more money than Blizzard, I think. Oh my god, Activision owns Prototype. I just realized.
I'll follow you from here on out.
It's a good day to play. It is. It's always a good day to play. We're gamers. I don't care about Xbox, I'm sorry. Activision, Blizzard, King, plus you. So basically what this means is get ready to move out. Blizzard is buying you. Well, Microsoft is buying you. What we know is that everything's gone through. They're being acquired. We're still not sure about the Game Pass thing. It's probably going to happen. But, you know, I guess we'll have to wait and see on that. And there's this post. This is the most interesting to me. So these are all the IPs they now own. Microsoft, that is. Through this acquisition. This is not just owned, this is through this single acquisition. Crash Bandicoot, Spyro the Dragon, Guitar Hero, which, by the way, let's bring it back. Let's bring back Guitar Hero, please. I don't know what this is. Hexen. King's Quest, I don't know what this is either. Space Quest. Quest for Glory. Tenchu. Pitfall. Tony Hawk Pro Skater. Zork, whatever that is. Call of Duty, this is obviously the big one. Candy Crush, this is an even bigger one. Like, Candy Crush, don't look at the financial reports from Blizzard. Trust me. Don't. You're gonna be very, very sad. You're gonna be very sad. Well, not Blizzard, it's Activision Blizzard King, right? StarCraft. Is it finally going to be a new IP? Will they revive StarCraft? Probably not. Warcraft. Imagine. Diablo. The entire franchise. Gabriel Knight. Overwatch, which by the way, this 100% Warcraft 4 on the way. Hearthstone. Phasma, whatever the hell. The Lost Vikings. True Crime. Interstate 76. Skylanders. Prototype. Prototype. If you haven't played Prototype, go back and play Prototype. The first one is kind of mid by modern standards. It was really good when it came out. Second one, really, really good. Also, the second Prototype, I've said this many times before, it has one of the greatest trailers I've ever seen. Not just because it has Johnny Cash hurt. It's such a good trailer. With this merge, there's actually hope for StarCraft, Warcraft 3, 4, please, please, please. We'll see. Blackthorn and Freddy Farkas Frontier Pharmacist. So this is a single acquisition. Let's be real. They care about this. They care about this. And they care about these. These are the money makers currently. I guess Tony Hawk is pretty big as well. And Crash Bandicoot, I think, sold pretty well as well. The rest of these are kind of... I don't really think they're super big money makers. Did you play Prototype? Yes, I love Prototype. Prototype is one of my favorite games. And this is like the big thing, right? So Jason Schreier, as always, go to him for all the video game scoops. As the Microsoft Activision deal closes, Bobby Kotick says he'll stay on as the CEO through the end of the year. On January 1st, 2024, Kotick will depart the company he took over 33 years ago. A massive change for the video game industry. Now, a lot of people are celebrating this as a triumph over Bobby. And don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I think this is good. I think let's get rid of Bobby. Let's get rid of Bobby. Bobby's not a good dude. Really, really not a real bad dude. A really, really bad dude down to the roots. A real bad dude. But don't for a second think that Bobby is taking an L. Don't for a second even consider the possibility that Kotick is being ousted from the company or something like that. If you don't know, let me introduce you to a term. Here we go. This is a term I would like you to know. A golden parachute. So this is what companies do when the CEO is getting ready to depart the company, right? What they do is they make a bunch of things in case their contract is terminated. And don't forget, Bobby has been there for 33 years. I don't know how true this is, that he has 400 million based in the shares, but he certainly has this. He has done a lot of work in ensuring that he has a lot of things that he no longer has to worry about. So Bobby has more money than all of us combined, squared, probably times 10. That's how much money Bobby has. So don't be too happy about Bobby leaving. Well, you can be happy about Bobby leaving, but don't think that this is a W for us. Well, it is a W for us, but you know, it could be a bigger W because Bobby's doing very well. Bobby made a lot of money, and you can say a lot of things about Bobby, but he made a lot of money for all the shareholders at Blizzard. There's a reason why he was the CEO for 33 years. Bobby is happy. Very happy. As for what this actually means for games, well, like I said, I think the obvious implication is, we can look through this article actually. I think the obvious implication is that a lot of games will just move right to Game Pass. And especially like World of Warcraft, because the World of Warcraft business model in the current age just doesn't work. Like, you have a box price, you have a subscription price, which, by the way, you can literally, we talked about Game Pass, right? You can subscribe to Game Pass and get like hundreds of games, or you can subscribe to World of Warcraft. That is the value proposition. Game Pass gives you access to AAA games on release occasionally, and like 100 other games on the backlog. I think it's a lot more than 100, but let's just roll with the idea that it's 100. Or you can subscribe to World of Warcraft, one game, which, by the way, you can't even play to the fullest because you still need to buy the expansion. So that is the value proposition of World of Warcraft currently. I am a subscription enjoyer, so I would much rather if they move it into Game Pass and get rid of all the nonsense. And I will happily pay for a premium Game Pass. If they introduce Game Pass, which is like $20, and you can pay for that every month, and then they just take out all the nonsense from the game, like microtransactions and stuff, I'm on board. Because I don't think like in the current gaming landscape, telling someone that you need to buy a box price for $40, subscribe for $15, and then potentially buy microtransactions if you want them, it's kind of ridiculous compared to everything else, you know? So I think that is like the obvious first move that they're going to do. Especially if a lot of the scoops about really, really revamping World of Warcraft with the next expansion is true, which I think it is. There are like, there's mounting evidence that something big is coming with WoW. We'll see. I'm curious why Jeff used the word seemingly in that tweet though. Oh, seemingly now owns? Because technically, I think with a lot of these, like, take this with a grain of salt, but technically I think a lot of these things could have, like, they could have the rights to these franchises, but it's not like they actually own all of the IP, if that makes sense. A lot of these things are very, very complicated. There's a reason why lawyers make a lot of money. I'll say that. It's complicated. A lot of these things I think are under the Activision branch, but it's hard to say whether or not like they really own them. And now when they're like being acquired, they own all of them as well. I think that's what he's implying here. Also, this might have been a thrown together tweet. Like some of these maybe were sold like last year and we just didn't notice. Point is, like I said, the biggest ones we know for sure, Call of Duty, Candy Crush, Diablo, Warcraft, StarCraft, like all the big ones we know for sure they now own. I'm very positive about this. Like, I guess the big thing is like, I'm a Monopoly non-enjoyer, right? I don't like big conglomerates just buying things endlessly and becoming bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, right? I think that is very bad. That is why I always say I despise consoles, because what a console is doing is literally, consoles are by design making your consumer experience worse. Because if you want to play a PlayStation game, you need to buy a literal machine that costs like $800 that can't do anything else. It is just a PlayStation. It is anti-consumer on a fundamental level, and I hate it. I hate consoles. Microsoft is going against that because, big surprise, it's Microsoft. So they make money off of PCs as well. So I think this is good in that sense, that it's taking away these Xbox exclusives and all that, because all these things will just come to PC. Big surprise because PC makes money. I'm an enjoyer on that front. And number two, Blizzard isn't doing good. And based on what people are saying from within Blizzard, people within Blizzard are happy to be acquired by Microsoft. So if the people within Blizzard think this is good for their work environment, if this is going to give them more freedom, better benefits, I'm also good with that. I'm happy with all these things. So this is one of those situations where I think the fact that they are being acquired, like again, $70 billion, I think that illustrates how big of a deal this is. In any situation, this would be bad, but with Blizzard and with Activision, I actually think going under the Microsoft umbrella is fine. It's funny, a lot of Blizzard enjoyers were hoping for merging with a bigger fish. Exactly, right? Because the thing with Blizzard, they were acquired by Activision, and people were already like very wary of that. And all of us turned out to be right. In the long run, Activision and all of that had a undeniable impact on Blizzard. But yeah, under Microsoft though, Microsoft seems to treat their studios much better. And with something as big as Blizzard, I do think like the reality of the situation is there will be layoffs. When you merge companies of this size, there is simply overlap that cannot, like, you don't need two HR departments, you know? Don't make a joke that Blizzard doesn't have HR. I see that joke coming a mile away. But like, there will be layoffs. There will absolutely be layoffs because two companies are being merged. There are things in a company that are redundant. So there will be layoffs, and you will hear a lot about this. A lot of people will lose their jobs. It's unfortunate. Everyone expected this. There are things that, like, a giant company just doesn't need multiple things of, you know? So that is obviously a bad thing. But I think in the long run, this will be a positive. We'll see. Literally me waiting for the new God of War to come to PC. Yes. No one will ever convince me that PlayStation and Sony is like a good company for the consumer. Literally, people are fighting these console wars, like which console is better. All of them are bad. They are literally anti-consumer. Like, the idea of a console is fine. But the fact that they're creating, which by the way, Nintendo is the same thing. Maybe me saying this will have Nintendo people coming after me, but I think Nintendo is even worse in a lot of ways. Because everything Nintendo does, number one, it's 100% walled off. And number two, it's like, if you do anything with the IP at all, you're going to get sued. So, you know, it's the same thing. I feel like the Xbox Series S was a play in the right direction. Cheap console that will play most AAA titles. That's what I mean, right? I think the concept of a console is perfectly fine. I don't like the like that's the thing, and which actually you raise a very good point. The fact that we are now talking about consoles and your first thought is exclusives is exactly what I mean. A console by default is perfectly fine. It is just a easy to set up thing for you to play games. It's fine. But my problem is exclusives. I'm not going to buy any PlayStation games because I'm not going to buy a PlayStation. They will never get money from me. You know how they could get money from me instantly? By putting their games on Steam. They will get my games instantly, which, by the way, do you know why consoles a lot of the time are cheaper than what they actually cost to produce? It's because a lot of them make money off of games, not the consoles themselves. That is what you call a loss leader. Well, technically, I guess they're what's the word for it? It does still count as a loss leader, but there was it's like not complementary goods, but it's the same thing like with the freaking coffee machines, right? The Nespressos. The actual thing is cheap, but what you buy a lot of actually makes up for the cost of the machine. I forget what the term of it is. Oh, they will easily squeeze these 4K people working on Diablo 4 down to 500 to make a better game, which is mind-boggling to me. I don't know what they'll do with like actual devs. That'll be interesting to see. But like especially in like people departments, there will be layoffs. That's just the norm for any merger. And Blizzard is big, so there might be a lot of that. I've decided now that once I pay for a game, I'm gonna also pirate the game in case the dev decides to pull the game from their website or Steam or whatever. This is game preservation is a huge deal. Yeah, especially with we had this conversation for literally like 20-30 minutes about Diablo, right? The fact that it's online only. I know a lot of people like the opinion is online only doesn't really matter in 2023 because everyone sort of has internet. Like most people have internet who will normally buy this game and play this game. So it's not really about the technology, it's more so about what it actually means for the game itself. For example, servers go down, you can't play the game. The developer pulls out, you can't play the game. There's so many things that literally could just take the game away from you that's the problem to me. It's not about having to be online to play the game. I genuinely don't care. The problem is that I might not be able to play the game at all at a certain point. You know? Because like I'm an MMO enjoyer. I'm used to playing games online. What I'm scared of is when the day will come when my favorite MMO server is shut down. That's the problem, in my opinion. And this was also very, very good, very well showcased with like the Diablo 4 tests, if you remember, like the beta tests. Instead of actually running a technical beta to get feedback, they ran an actual online beta, and they couldn't even get data because people just kept getting kicked off the server and stuff. You know, like at that point, you're stress testing the server more than you're actually testing the game. Let's get into another philosophical debate. How we value entertainment. When you go to see a movie, you're going to spend $20-something easily. I don't know what it is in the US. I spent 11 euros on a single ticket to Oppenheimer. For a 3-hour movie, I spent 11 euros on the ticket alone. That is not accounting travel costs, that's not accounting snacks, it's not accounting drinks, not accounting anything. Literally just the movie ticket for 3 hours of entertainment. I can buy an indie game on Steam for $4, Halls of Torment, and play it for 60 hours. Why do people think spending $4 on that game is kind of like more difficult than going to a movie? Another example. A month's worth of World of Warcraft, $15. I play a lot of World of Warcraft, many hours. I could never make that up in movie tickets even if I tried. And that has been relatively cheap. I think a lot of these things with entertainment and a lot of these other tangential to entertainment things with hobbies especially, we have a very warped perspective in our culture as a whole. You know, if that makes sense. Also, like coffees. You go to Starbucks, you get like 3 coffees, you have already bought a game. A full-priced game. You know? It's a lot of these things where I think you could get like very philosophical about why we think of prices the way we do. There was a very good meme about spending $3 on Steam. It's like, yes. Spending $3 on your iPhone? No. I have never bought a single thing on my phone. I have never bought a single application on my phone. Not once. Why? I don't know why. It feels weird. I think you could talk about this for a long time. And I don't know why it is that way. I don't. But it's interesting. It's weird with subscriptions. Which, by the way, you might have heard this. I'm gonna... Want to hear a prediction? Netflix said they were going to raise prices People got mad and said they'll stop using Netflix. How much you want to bet that people are not going to stop using Netflix? How much you want to bet that no one's gonna cancel? Well, there are probably gonna be some people who are gonna cancel Netflix. Nothing's gonna change. Nothing's gonna change. Absolutely, people will still use Netflix. Absolutely. I was buying Magic the Gathering cards for quite some time, so I won't speak about the price. Exactly, right? And it's things like these where we have such a warped perspective, and it's weird. Like, people say a phone is expensive. A phone is expensive. Like, buying a phone, $1,000, right? Let's just round it up. But you use that phone for hours every single day. Probably for like a couple of years at least. I still have my iPhone 7. I have an iPhone 7. Okay? And I bought it for however much I bought it. I don't remember. So if I did the thing you would do in a business and like depreciate the price of my phone, it would be laughable. It was so cheap if I depreciate the cost, right? But still, it's the upfront cost that hurts. So I've started to think of my entertainment. I try to think of like the hour value of it, if that makes sense. But even that, I don't think is a good measure. Because there are a lot of games where I could spend like $40 on a game, and even if it's like 4 hours long, $10 per hour, right? I'd still be fine with it if it was a good experience. I think there's a reason why gaming is as big as it is, and I think it's because gaming is actually literally the most affordable hobby you could have. I think gaming is very, very cheap compared to everything else. My friend thinks about buying a PC, but has a valid point. He can buy a console much cheaper and prices of games are practically the same. They're not, though. PC games, I don't recommend doing this. I don't, because I think like a lot of it is very, very shady. Again, we could talk about this for hours. If you know about like key shops online, a lot of them use like stolen credit cards and stuff like that. It's very shady. First of all, a computer is a computer. It's not meant to play games. It can do everything. You could start a business on that computer. Number two, on average, games will be cheaper. Absolutely, playing on a PC will be cheaper. And also, yes, you can access older games. You can emulate games. You can watch shows. Like, a computer is just infinitely better. That is why I own a computer. If he wants a computer, he can scroll down to the stream right now. There's a link for Starforge PCs. Good games. Not good games, good PCs. Good PCs. But yes, basically, to summarize all of this, I am very positive about this. We'll see what happens in the long run. On the face of it, this is a huge, huge merger of giant companies, which should be bad. But with Blizzard, it's actually kind of good. Let's hope that Microsoft, because like, let's be real, there's a reason why everyone was trying to make World of Warcraft, because an MMO is infinite money in the long run. What do businesses like? Infinite money in the long run. Maybe they will, start giving World of Warcraft proper resources and fix the game. Especially because they know they're going up against some real big heavy hitters very soon. Riot is making an MMO. And Riot has a lot of monies. And Ashes of Creation also has a lot of monies. We'll see. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful about all this.